everybody. Welcome to the Glen Kuiper Show, All Giants. I am Glen Kuiper. I'm joined by my brother Duane tonight. We're going to use this as a post-game show. We'll talk a little bit about the ball game tonight. But first of all, we wanted to throw something out there. Duane, we're gonna put out the Friday Night Kipes first show on YouTube tonight after our show is over. So we've been wanting to get the shows out on YouTube, the shows that you and I do on Friday night home games at the Gotham Club. So we got one ready to go, and we're going to put it out there on the YouTube tonight. So kind of a big deal, and we thought we would do that tonight after you and I finish our show. So we've had fun at the Gotham Club this year.
Well, the Gotham Club has really been, something that we kind of threw together. We had a lot of people supporting us, and then you always kind of wonder, well, how's it going to go? And really every week, the room has been full, and more than anything, a lot of laughs. And, after a game, win, lose, or draw, you probably don't want to dissect the game too much. You just want to have nice conversations, laugh a little bit. We've had some people do some great impressions, and then wrap it up and go home. It is Friday night after all. So I think it's good. I think people that will watch this will really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, it is. We've been wanting to get it out. I mean, the show is the Friday Night Kipe show is for Gotham Club members, obviously. So it's not just a free for all where everybody goes in. It's for the members. But what we've wanted to do is we've wanted to get the show out more to, just Giants fans out there. So when we put it out tonight, it's the shows that we're putting out on YouTube, they're audio only with some still photos from that night's show. But the first show going out tonight was one we did a couple weeks ago with the Fleming brothers, Dave, of course, and his brother Will, who's Red Sox play-by-play announcer on radio. So it's great. It's fun. We have a lot of laughs. We talk good stories. So again, you can see it tonight. It'll go out on my YouTube channel. It's called Friday Night Kipes. So check it out. And we have a show this Friday. We got a couple of right-handers joining us. Duane, Mike Kruko, your partner, is going to join us, and also former Giant Russ Ortiz, who was a big part of the Giants' very good teams when they went to the World Series in 2002. So Russ is going to join us at the Gotham Club as well. So for you Gotham Club members, you're going to get Kruk and Russ Ortiz on Friday, and we'll get that show out at some point on the YouTube channel. So we wanted to let everybody know that tonight's game not good. Giants lose it. Duane, it's hard to talk about a game like that right after it happened, but it was just the way they played, I think, was disappointing, and that's what's a little frustrating, even watching it, and even for somebody like you who has seen so many Giants games, good and bad, but just a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes that just make you kind of scratch your head at this point in the season.
Well, look, when it starts out where you score a run in the first, and if you can get another hit, maybe you score more than 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So anyway, so now you're rocking along. You're thinking, all right, well, this is pretty good. It's 1-0. But then Birdsong walks 3 guys in a row. And all of a sudden that just takes the wind out of everything that you've done. And not so much the hopes that you're going to win the game, but the hopes that you're going to play a clean game. Yeah. And as far as playing a clean game, it just went absolutely downhill after that. I don't know this. Obviously, I'm not there. But just judging by the look on the manager's face towards the end of the game, I think he probably had something to say to his team afterward. That's a guess.
Yeah.
But having been in this game as long as we both have, it's probably a pretty good guess.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And I saw that too. I thought it was interesting because when Bob turned around, the game was over, and he was kind of heading out, he said something to Ryan Christensen. And I believe these things usually go, Bob's probably not going to let the players know I want to talk to him, but one of his coaches is going to let the players know, hey, Bob wants to talk to you. And I wouldn't be surprised either if that was, and again, we don't want to speculate, that's not fair, but it did look like Bob said something to Rhino, at that point. So
yeah,
I thought you did. Yeah, I think Duane froze up, but I did see that, and I kind of thought the same thing. That Duane said that something. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a meeting, and listen, you're at game number, what was it, 101. So what can you say to the team? But after a performance like that, you almost feel like, Duane, like Bob's got to say something to him. And this isn't high school or college where he's going to air guys out, I wouldn't think, but you feel like he's probably got some things to get off his chest tonight.
Well, and you know what? It'll be good for him. And I mean, I've been on teams where you're walking off the field after a game and you kind of expect it's going to happen. and then you really need to hear it. And even if you specifically point out stuff that happened in the game individually, like, all right, look, Ramos and Jung-Hoo Lee, can you guys figure this out?
Yeah.
You can't this is the major leagues. You can't let a ball fall, so you got to, if you can specifically air these guys out and make sure that they know that all of this is unacceptable, because, look, you only have like 60 some games to go. And you're at a point now in this road trip where even if you win the next 2 games, it's not been a good road trip.
Yeah.
And you haven't won those 2 games yet. So, yeah, I think the players are going to hear about it. And I think they're going to welcome hearing about it just because of how poorly they played.
Now, there was, back when you played in the 70s and the 80s, there was always the kind of the baseball phrase, like, the manager's going to flip the spread tonight, meaning he's going to go in there and the tables that have the post-game food on it for you guys, he's going to flip it over. I imagine there were some managers who did that back then. Do you recall that ever happening to a team you were on with that manager?
Yeah, I look, it wouldn't be a good idea for a manager to flip the spread. It usually has to be a player to flip the spread, and it can't be the backup catcher that flips the spread. And we had a game, I think it was I know it was in Pittsburgh, and we played until the wee hours of the morning. It was an extra inning game. It might have been the second game of a doubleheader. And Mike tells the story a lot better than I do, but so we lose in like 14 innings. And remember, it's 2:00 in the morning, which means room service is not available. There isn't any restaurants. Guys are starved. It's the second game of a doubleheader. And our backup catcher, Johnny Rabb, flipped the spread. and I remember watching. It was, the whole thing happened like in slow motion. It was like, there's the 3 tables, there's the food, everybody's ready to go. Even though we lost, we're starved, and all of the food goes on the ground. And everybody looked at Johnny Rabb like, you are the dumbest human being that we've ever seen. Seriously.
Yeah.
So that was it. I mean, guys literally, and I know it's unsanitary, but they were picking whatever they could off the floor because it's 2 a.m.
Sure.
So flipping the spread is not a great idea.
Yeah.
But if you want to get players' attention, I guess that's how you do it. But if you yell loud enough, you're going to get their attention. And I'm sure that Bob got their attention tonight.
Yeah. I would guess he did too. It'll be interesting to find out, and we may never find out. I mean, it's none of our business what he said, obviously. But the birdsong thing is it's tough to watch. You feel bad for the kid because you can tell, because I thought last year when he was pitching, he pitched really good last year, and even out of the bullpen this year, he has a little moxie on the mound. He pitches with some confidence. He struts around a little bit, which, I like that in a pitcher. But now we're not seeing that, obviously because of, the struggles he's having. But, to adjust at the big league level, it's almost impossible. And you just wonder if it's probably time that the Giants may have to do something here. And
yeah, Glenn, he's not going to figure this out at the big league level.
Yeah.
Within the next couple of days, I'm sure they're going to tell him that, Hayden, look, we got a lot of faith in you, but right now, we can't play this game where we're going to wonder what your starts are going to look like. You're going to have to figure this out in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And then, the Giants would bring up another starter, and that's obviously their call as to who they want to bring up. But right now, they can't play the waiting game because of the amount of games that you have left. And I feel bad for Birdsong because he had some success at this level. But all of a sudden, when it goes sideways for a young guy, sometimes they just can't get it back. And he's going to have to get it back at another level, not at the big league level.
Duane, we got a comment from one of our good followers. Is Bake the Dough, and he's got a super chat. So wants this question answered. As frustrating as it is, the way they're playing, the mental errors are especially troubling. But if they flip the spread, don't flip the cookies. That's from Bake the Dough. And that's what he does. He makes really good cookies. He brought some to me at the ballpark one night, and I ate like 17 of them in one sitting. So Bake the Dough says, flip the spread, don't flip the cookie. So
Bake the Dough should know that if there's a spread after a game, the cookies are not the first thing you're going after. You're going after the dogs or the burgers. That's what you're going after. And then if you're lucky enough, then you can go after the cookies. One other story about spreads, they were very uncommon in the 70s. Clubhouse guys they didn't have cooks or they didn't cook. So in Cleveland, our clubhouse was right where all the concession stands were. And there was one concession stand that was very close. And our spread was whatever was left over, in that concession stand. And usually it was hot dogs and bratwurst or whatever. And sometimes you got 10, sometimes you got 40. And I remember standing out at second base after a long game, and I was hungry. It was night at night, knowing that maybe the only thing open was Denny's, and that would be like going there for the fourth time that week. And I'm looking, and there's 2 outs in the 9th inning, and we're about to win the game, and I can see all the extra pitchers in infield. They're all going up to the clubhouse, and they're going to get all the hot dogs. They are. So by the time I got there, or Buddy Bell or Frank Duffy or Boog Powell, by the time we got up there, we had what was left, and that were the buns.
Oh, nice.
And so that was our spread. And it's come a long way now where each team has their own chefs. And
oh my gosh.
I remember one Sunday in Oakland, they had lobster tail. And I was like, what? Lobster tail in the big leagues? Well, yeah. It is the big leagues, right? But it was just not something that worked my head in accordance with all the 9 hot dogs we got in Cleveland. So
yeah,
it's better now. Don't get me wrong; it's much better.
The lunchrooms now are you and two, what's happening now, Duane, is they're eating lunch there, and then after the game they're eating, so they're getting 2 meals there,
or 3,
or sometimes 3. Yeah,
if there's a night game, and you go there for a late lunch at 1:30, and then you take batting practice. You can go have a sandwich, so that's 2, and then after the game you can have a real meal, so that's 3, and if you get there very early enough, you probably have breakfast, so that's 4. So yeah, things are a lot better. Let's put it that way.
So we don't think Bob Melvin flipped the spread. That's not happening.
Well, first of all, there's no spread, and he'd have a hard time flipping the food because he'd have to go into the kitchen and do it.
Yeah,
but he did. I'm sure he did have something to say.
Yeah. You and I have talked about this. The trade deadline's coming up, and it's a great time in baseball because there's conversations to be had about every team and different guys, and your team needs this and your team needs that. And, it's just one of the cool things about Major League Baseball, the trade deadline, which is, it's a couple weeks away now. And you and I talk about, what do we think is going to happen? But, there's also the theory too that, listen, Buster went out and got Devers, right? And Devers, I think is a little bit banged up, but this guy in the long run is going to be a terrific offensive player for the Giants. And now, they're still struggling a little bit offensively. So now you're starting to hear a lot of people say, well, they need another hitter, or they need a pitcher. And maybe they do. In this case, maybe they do need a pitcher, or maybe they do need a hitter, or maybe the guys that they do have need to take that next step up, as a lineup or as a pitching staff. Because I just don't think you can always go to it's the trade deadline and we need to go get this and we need to go get this, because it's not always easy to do. Maybe the 26 guys need to just step it up a little bit to try to get that extra production.
Well, I mean, it's okay, Glenn, for the fans to say, we need this and we need that, and then we'll be okay. That's fine. I mean, they can play that game. But the guys in the clubhouse, that's not something that they should think about doing, because what Buster or the president or Zach, they can basically say, look, I gave you the right pieces. Now you have to do something.
Yeah.
I don't look at me like I can save you, because maybe everybody should up what they're doing, and then we could be better and win some games. I mean, yeah, look, in a perfect world, a veteran starting pitcher, maybe a third or fourth starter on another team would really help.
Yeah.
Obviously now because of the Birdsong thing. And if you could get, another quality hitter, that would be great. But I do think you're asking the organization a lot if you're a player to say, please save us, because we're not doing very good right now. So save us. And I don't think a lot of ways that can happen. I remember Brian Sabian one time said, look, it's not on me anymore. It's on you.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
And I do think it's fair.
And I think the players would agree with that too, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, but there are some really interesting names out there that would really help this team. But you got to figure, well, at what cost?
Yeah.
And sometimes they need to play a little better to make that cost worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And right now they're not doing that. They're not showing the right people the right things to make any more improvements to this team.
Yeah. And I think too, there's, the lineup gets talked about a lot. Lineup gets talked about for every manager. It's just, it's a baseball conversation that fans can have. The lineup, we should do that. And sometimes there's good ideas out there, but I also think the lineup isn't an issue if you're scoring runs, right? The lineup only becomes an issue when you're struggling and trying to find guys where to put them. And, where do you put Jung-Hoo Lee? Do you leave him down at the bottom? Do you bring him back up to the top? But he's continuing to struggle some, so, I think that's another one of those conversations that it's good baseball conversation, but you're usually having it, when the offense just isn't clicking. And there just seems to be, I don't know how you feel about it, but there just seems to be something a little off with the offense. They looked better the last couple days. They scored some runs. So I don't know that it was necessarily on them, but just in the long haul, they just seem to be a little off as a group. And I've tried to kind of put my finger on it, and I haven't been able to do it.
There's one guy I'd love to see in a Giants uniform, whether it's this year or next year, and he is a free agent. and that's the kid that plays left field for Cleveland.
Quan?
So he can leave after this year.
Yeah.
So would the Guardians want to trade him?
Yeah.
So that they can get something for him before he leaves? Well, that would be a guy that might be worthwhile thinking about, because he would definitely change your lineup. And he would definitely change the defense in your outfield.
Yeah.
So, if somebody like that is available, but, you also have to look at it like he may be a rental.
Sure.
And how much do you want to give up for a rental? So
that's the big
those
question.
are all decisions that I'm glad I don't have to make. It's easy for me or for you or for people at home to come up with these ideas of what players would be fun to get, but he would be fun to get.
Yeah. And then that's the fun part about, the trade deadline, because you can sort of fantasize about, well, that guy would be great to get. But every fan base is doing that, so, but it is kind of one of the treats of the baseball season and the trade deadline. But so 61 games left. You'd love to see this team get on a roll, but you look at these couple teams that I kind of picked out, Duane, that are really hot right now, and I know the one team that you really like, and I like them too because of the way they play, like Milwaukee. So now Milwaukee has won 10 in a row. I don't even know if they won tonight. I can check here. They're playing in Seattle, but they've won 10 in a row. They're 34-12 in their last 46 games, and they've managed to catch the Cubs, which nobody thought was going to happen in the National League Central. And I bring up the Brewers because, yeah, they're hot, but you look at that team, and there's not a huge amount of star players on that team. But when we've seen them, they just play the right way. They steal bases. They play good defense. They get after it. They play hard. They pitch pretty well. And you just feel like are the Giants just don't seem like they're that far off from being that kind of team, but they just haven't got on one of those rolls yet. And now the Brewers are on one of those rolls, and they just feel like they can't lose. But that's what happens with a good team when they get hot. You feel like, hey, we're going to win every day. And I would imagine a team like Milwaukee that just seems to me to play the game the right way. There's something about them.
Well, I do think, Glenn, that their roster is a little different than the Giants. I mean, they've got some really young, talented guys. And the Giants have some young, talented guys who just can really do. And, and that's important. I mean, the Brewers have these guys running around. I mean, look, I use the Brewers and the Blue Jays as two examples of, and the Marlins as well. When the Marlins played the Giants, they played them really tough.
Yeah.
It was like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
I mean, who are they? And meanwhile, they're knocking balls all over the place, over the wall, off the wall. They're running down, they're diving, and their pitching's good, or good at least in that series. And a lot of it has to do with energy, and offense creates energy. People on base create energy. Base hits with runners in scoring position create energy. And you have to have a little bit of all of that in order to go from winning 2 out of 3 to winning 5 out of 6 to all of a sudden, I think the Blue Jays won today, which is now 11 straight at home.
Yeah.
And I had no idea the Blue Jays were that good. I had no idea. But yet, when you look at them and you watch them play against the Giants, they look like the 27 Yankees.
Yeah.
And it's probably a combination of them being really good and the Giants not playing their A game at all.
Sure.
I mean, the Friday night game with all those base runners and not getting any hits with runners in scoring position, that crushes you.
Mm-hmm.
It just kills the momentum of what you're trying to do. So, I mean, look, it's not the young guys now that are going to have to step up for the Giants. It's going to be the veteran guys. You can't ask the young guys to do it. It's going to have to be Adames, who was great. He had 4 hits tonight.
Mhm.
And it's going to have to be Devers, and it's going to have to be Jung Hoo Lee, although he's still a young guy. I mean, he doesn't have that much time in the major leagues. He's going to have to step up, and the almost is going to.
Yeah, we lost Duane there a little bit. He may have frozen up. But anyways, I mean, he makes good points. I mean, it's we're closing in on August 1st, and you're in a tough stretch right now. You're losing games, and you've had this stretch where there wasn't a lot of runs scored, but the pitching was good. Now the pitching's taken a little bit of a beating lately, and the offense has scored a few runs lately, and you're still not winning those games. So you're just in one of those funks where everything is going against you. The problem is you're dropping in the standings. That's sort of where that issue comes in. San Diego won again tonight. San Diego is one of those teams you're fighting with in that wild card. So you're dropping games in the standings quickly. Now you can get those back quickly, but you're also in a mix with not just the Padres but 3-4 other teams. So that's kind of where that issue comes in. But anyways, let's move on to something else. We can dissect this as much as we can. But one thing that got me thinking, Duane, when Giants are in Atlanta, and it's the Braves, and I know you have a big soft spot for the Braves. People may forget that the Braves came from Milwaukee. They were the Milwaukee Braves, a very successful team in Milwaukee. And then, unfortunately, Major League Baseball really wanted a team in the Southeast. And back in the 60s, there was not a team in the Southeast. And Major League Baseball thought it was a little bit of an untapped area. And they said, we want the Braves in Atlanta, which kind of sucked for people growing up in Wisconsin. And Duane, I know you grew up a huge Milwaukee Braves fan. Those were your guys. But at the age of 15, they left.
They left.
I
know. Sucks.
I mean, that I know that's something that stayed with you for a long time. Then all of a sudden they were gone at the age of 15 when you were really locked and loaded on being a baseball fan.
So I'm sitting at my desk in my office, and it just so happens that in the top drawer, I'll put this up as close as I can. So this is a 1957 World Series pin.
Yeah.
So instead of getting a press pass in those days, they handed out these pins, and you put these pins on your lapel, and that got you into the press box.
Sure.
This is from the 1951 World Series, and that's your press pass to get in.
Wow. Really? I've never seen those. That's cool.
So, Hank Greenwell used to start collecting these, and I got so enthralled with them, I started to bop around, and when I found this one with the Braves.
Oh man, that's your guys.
Yeah, that was like too cool. But yeah, when they left, look, you're 15 years old. You got a lot going on when you're 15. You're trying to actually get girls to like you, and you're walking around, thinking that you're a pretty good ball player, and blah 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 blah. And then your team leaves.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I remember most about the team leaving Milwaukee is when they went to Atlanta, we followed them to Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
As kids and fans, they were still the Braves to us, even though they were the Atlanta Braves and not the Milwaukee Braves.
Mm-hmm.
All the Atlanta games were on the radio, and we listened. And when the Atlanta Braves went to Chicago to play the Cubs, Uncle John would get us all together in a car, and off we'd go to Wrigley Field to watch Hank Aaron. And so, yeah, I mean, it kind of broke our hearts when they left. But, for whatever reason, all of a sudden Milwaukee became too small of a market for Major League Baseball. Atlanta was a bigger market.
Yeah.
And it really never was the same. But Those players, when I was young, growing up, Eddie Matthews and Aaron and Burdette and Johnny Logan and Billy Bruton and all those guys, Del Crandall. I'll never forget those guys. Nor will I forget Earl Gillespie and Blaine Walsh, the two radio guys that I listened to religiously. Laying in bed at night. So I, having now done this, being a broadcaster and knowing how important it is to the young people. I mean, you just have to go back to when you were young and remember how important it was for the people to tell the story, that you tell it correctly. And I had two guys, Earl Gillespie and Blaine Walsh, that told it to me correctly. Mm-hmm. And consequently, those guys will live forever in my mind.
Yeah, that's great. But I remember too, when the Braves went to Atlanta, and then in the early 70s, just to kind of appease the late 60s, I should say, because the Brewers came in 70, but just to appease kind of the Milwaukee fans, the Atlanta Braves would come for an exhibition game, in the 70, 71, 72 against the Brewers.
Yeah.
Middle of the season. I mean, the Braves may be in Chicago. They would come for an exhibition game against the Brewers just so everybody in Milwaukee could see Hank Aaron. That was the only reason they were there. And our dad would always, I mean, you were gone playing somewhere, but I was little, and Dad would always take us because we wanted to see Hank Aaron. He would bat twice, 3 times in the exhibition game, and then everybody would wait for him around the clubhouse after the game. It was just, there was thousands of people waiting for him, but none of us knew at the time that after the 5th inning, Hank was gone. Yeah. He was showered and to the airport before the team. We didn't know that. We just waited till after the game. We just waited, and he never came out. Rico Carty would come out, and Orlando Cepeda was with the Braves. They would come, and we just wanted to see Hank, and we never saw him. And then we realized later on in life that Hank was waiting for the team at the airport, and he wasn't sticking around.
No, he wasn't going to stick around. But I mean, look, you're right. I was not around for those, but all of a sudden, in snap of a finger for me, I'm standing at second base in Tucson, and he is standing at second base. I'm with a glove, and he's just doubled. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, wasn't I just at County Stadium as a kid watching him, and now I'm at second base standing next to him, and
Frank Robinson, Hank Aaron.
Yeah, Hank Aaron, and Frank Robinson puts a pickoff play on, and Hank Aaron looks at me like, "What are you doing?" And there's like, and I pointed at Frank. I was like, "He did it. I want to ask for his autograph." So then for the season 75 and 76, I did get a chance to play against him, and all I remember is he could still hit, and he was an imposing figure, and he was always going to be Hank Aaron from 1957, not necessarily Hank Aaron from 1975. He was great, and the chance I had to meet Eddie Matthews came in an spring training game in Sun City. He was a scout for the Brewers, and I played 5 innings. I went and sit in the stands, and when I sat down, I turned around, and Eddie Matthews was sitting behind me.
And Eddie was your guy, right?
He was my guy.
I
mean, he hit left-handed, and I played third base in Little League because he played third. And I remember I was smoking in those days, and I lit up a cigarette, and he tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Hey, can I have one of those?" I was like, "You can have the whole pack.
You can have it all." Yeah.
And whatever you need. You need a beer? You need a carton? I'll go get some right now. So that was, and I never had the nerve to say, "Eddie, look, you were my guy," but I didn't feel like I had to. He was, he was Eddie Matthews, and that's all I needed to know is that, that he was at the ball game, and he was my guy. So, hey, the Braves at that point. I mean, my dad took us to a game, probably 57, 58. and we didn't go to any games, but he took us to a couple of games. And I mean, you weren't even around then, Glenn.
No.
But yeah, those are memories that you don't ever soon forget.
No, you don't forget your childhood team. I mean, my childhood team was your Cleveland Indians, and I could name 20 guys on those teams that no baseball fan would even have ever heard of.
No,
but I remember them all.
Yep.
That's what baseball great. But I wanted to talk about that with you. The Hank Aaron story about him being at second base is one of my favorites. But you see Atlanta, and I still think about Hank Aaron, and I only remember Hank a little bit way at the end of his career. I didn't see him in his prime, unfortunately, but you certainly did. So we're back to work on Friday, Duane. I wish we had a better game to talk about, but let's hope the boys get a good night's sleep and get back at it. And we'll be at the ballpark Friday for the Mets and for another Friday night Kuipers at the Gotham Club. So I appreciate you stopping by.
Well, look, I mean, this kind of happened the last road trip I was on, where all of a sudden the Giants did really play well in Chicago. They lost the first two in Arizona, but then they won the next two. And then after that, they started to win a lot of games in a row.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the only thing that as a fan, I hang on to is like, all right, so tomorrow they win. They got a day game on Wednesday. They win. And now they have an off day on Thursday, and then they go into Friday night with a 2-game winning streak. And look, the Mets are good.
Yeah.
But you're playing them at home. And then after that, you got the Pirates. So, I mean, all of a sudden, the biggest game of the year is the game tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
And, you what is it? Is it Landon Roop tomorrow?
Yep.
Well, maybe Landon Roop is the guy that I want on the mound tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and look, I get the morning show tomorrow with Murph and Mac on Murph and Marcus on KMBR. And I know it's going to be the gnashing of teeth, right? But I'm not going to play that game. I mean, I don't do that, because if you play the negative game, then all of a sudden the season just is not any fun anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
So you have to look forward to tomorrow's game, the game after that, see what happens, day off, Friday the Mets, let's go. And we got Friday night Kuipers, and we got Mike, and we got Russ, and we can ask Russ some great questions. And Mike is Mike, who we don't even have to be there if Mike is there.
No, he's the best. Yeah, he's the best.
So anyway,
yeah,
I'm out of gas. Let's go.
No, thanks, man. So remember, folks that are listening, check out the YouTube. We're throwing out the Friday Night Kuipers first audio edition on my YouTube channel in just a little bit. We wanted to kind of tease it and let you know it's coming out. So check that out. It's awesome. It's the Friday Night Kuipers on my YouTube channel. You'll see it. It's going to be good stuff. So remember, hit the subscribe button. Hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Duane, thanks. And we'll see you back on the show later this week. See you
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Game.